They click them on and off at different times. For instance, Sunday morning, they have it on a very low frequency, and people feel it's Sunday, even when they're not Christians. They have it where, well, it's Sunday, it's kind of calm. When it comes to about 8 o'clock Sunday, they start to speed up the oscillation, right? And I'm going to get to oscillators in a minute. Speed up the oscillations valves inside the frequency to get the response, and gets higher pitch, and people become more hyper. On Sunday, people start speeding faster because they're trying to get them prepared for Monday. What has happened is they know that our body moves on a different frequency, respond differently than theirs does. Obviously, because most Caucasian singers sing in high natural voices. Most Nubian singers sing in low voices. Or they were forced to emulate the Amorite and use what is referred to as a falsetto or a placement, but not a natural high voice. Very few Nubian singers have a natural high voice, unless they go out their way to, like Seal or a couple of other who want to be Amorites, go out their way to sound like Amorites. They're already programmed. They've already got inside his head when he had that accident and altered his frequency. They can also alter your frequency response. Let me tell you what I mean by that so you get a better understand. Years ago I tried to teach this, but people wasn't as ready then as they are now. It's simple. It's not uncomplicated. It's the period of time that music took a change. From the time you came in from Africa, when everything was based on drums and chants, right? And you had a kalimba, you follow that? And you had a marimba. And then as it moved into the Latino world, and you had the conga, and et cetera, you know the instruments I'm talking about that apply to us as a people. All right. Now, eventually, our music went into blues. Of course, blues was the result of the fact that the Amorite gave us the blues. He took everything from us, beat us up, robbed us, raped us, castrated us, and we became quite depressed. As a result, our music, which is our emotions, became depressed. In due time, that blues changed into rock and roll for people who had cars, and R&B for those who didn't. The reason why they called it rock and roll is because little Caucasian kids with combs in their back pocket and grease in their hair and bucks on used to drive around with their car radios on and rock while they rolled. Most Nubians couldn't afford a car, so ours was based on rhythm and blues. All of it was done standing one place dancing. And the blues was mixed in depression, now with rhythm, and we called it up-tempo. Speed up the tempo a little bit. And there we got rhythm and blues. All right, the Amorites, of course, want to do rhythm and blues the same way a lot of Negroes want to try to do heavy metal and rock. It won't work. Hootie and the Blowfish, it won't work long. He was just put out there to destroy the fact that they had no Caucasians that came up with any good hits this year, and they needed a Negro who's a Caucasian to take all the awards. That's all. All right, so as that happened, he started squeezing us, namely the men, to get us to start singing in high voices, commence around the 60s. And that produced Delphonics, Blue Magic, Stylistics, Black Ivory, Shy Lights, name some more of them. Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Temptations had, but they had Melbourne. A lot of the hit records was based on Aleem is his real name. Eddie Kendricks was his other name, right? And he was a falsetto. This was done intentionally to get us to love high-pitched sounds. You follow? Because that's the only way we can get a hit record is to sing the way they want. And so Blue Magic and everybody, we all screaming our voices out trying to sound like white people, which white men sing naturally in a high voice, you know, which is self-explanatory, right? But they managed to control our minds then. While we were in these clubs, you know, clubs are used for one thing, gathering people or hitting people in the head with, and when you went to a club, both things were happening to you. They were gathering you and clubbing you in the head, right? Okay, so we were gathering these clubs, and this before disco creeped in, and we started dancing. The best thing we could go back to was our Latin roots. You follow that? So we grabbed the Latin, and we started going to the Palladium, and dancing to the Allegro All-Stars, and Tito Puente, Pacheco, and we was in it. And he saw that the Latin population was becoming one with the Negro population. And that really frightened him, that we realized that we're the same family. So he tried to split us. But as a split occurred, instead of us going totally away, we started hustling. You know what hustle means, right? Moving fast, jumping around like clowns. So we started hustling. And then what he did is he staged an invasion of America by a group called Devo. And they came in with a sound, Trans-Europe Express. Had no body language. The group stood there in plastic hats and black eyes and no motion, and just was saying over and over again, Trans-Europe Express. That's all they said. Trans-Europe Express. And we were bing, boom, bing, boom, bing, boom, bing, boom, bing, boom, 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 bing. And everybody was listening to that sound. What they were doing is they were introducing the Moog synthesizer. One of the first synthesizers to come in and take out analog sound to bring in digital, to take out acoustic sound and bring in the synthetic instrument. By acoustic sound, I mean when you see a person pick up a guitar with natural strings, not even the metal strings even, the catgut strings, with a wood body, and they're playing that sound with no metal and no wires and no amplification, that's acoustic. When you see a guy pick up a guitar that's all plastic and stick a wire and go, that's the first stages of digital, though a lot of times the original amplifiers were still analog. Analog means work by tubes, Tesla's baby. All right, digital crossed out. All right, so they brought in this group called Devo, and they came in to remove the soul. We moved gradually out the hustle into what was called the bus stop. It was a form of destroying them. The Amorites took the hustle because what happened is the gay population liked the hustle because it had a lot of body flair to it. It was very much like voguing. Everything was spinning and throwing their hands up. So this was a way for a guy to get his sugar out of his shoes without the public way. He could consider himself a good hustler, right? And then from that he could move over and become a good disco dancer. So the guys that you knew that were very good dancers in the discotheque were usually had a little sugar in their shoes. And they had it working together. They knew what they were doing. All right? And then after they did that, they started slowly but surely introducing their music to our children. Now, how they do that? They removed all of the real instruments. 99% of the music that you hear on the radio or record or tape or CD today is synthetic. The violins are fake. The bass is fake. The drums are fake. It's all in drum machines. No more human element. Without the human element, there's really no emotion. And I don't care whether they tell you, no, when I sample, I put my emotions in it. You put your emotions in the first 3 licks, and then when you push that continuation button and it goes on by itself, there's no more emotions regardless of what you say. You follow? This is all part of the plan for mind control. The HARP project relates to the Rainbow project because where there's sound, there's light. And when sound vibrates, different frequencies give off different colors of light. When you look up and see a rainbow, and you see the 7 colors of the rainbow, if they could tap a wire into the violet, you'd get a certain frequency that would give you a certain tone. They knew that. I'm saying that to say, they knew that they had to destroy the root of 9-ether, not the hair. They had to get down beneath the hair. The hair grows out of the root, and that's connected to the protein in the body. That's the essence of you. They had to get down inside to destroy that before they could destroy the God in you and turn you from a man to a beast, which they have, in most cases, if you look at the media today, succeeded in doing. People have transformed into beasts. You are afraid when you walk through a mall, and you are the Nubians. And you're afraid of your own people because that's how dangerous they appear to be to you. Don't tell me that every place you go, if you come across a bunch of Nubians, you're never afraid. Even if you're afraid for what you might have to do to one of them niggas, it's still fair because you don't feel like having to hurt nobody, and you definitely don't want to get hurt. But they have done something. There's definitely a transformation that have taken place. So what happened is they eased into the recording studios and made something that was exclusively controlled by record companies a public fad. Get your own recording studio, own drum machine, your own everything, and put in your basement and do your own mixing and sample to make your own records. They eliminated all of the acoustics, pianos. They even made what they referred to as an electric acoustic piano by Yamaha. And I said it as Yamaha and not Yamaha because the Arabs are also a part of it. And if you look at the Leviathan cover, you'll see I have Arabs on there too, because they have been working with the devil way back. And I put in the Leviathan book where you see each one of the Saudi Arabian kings sitting with a different president. This has not been one sympathizer. This goes all the way back to the Sultan himself, who you can find in the first page of the cover of Noble Drew Ali's book, and made reference to several times in the Nation of Islam teachings. They also, I might add, make the mistake for that new information of giving Muhammad two identities in the Nation of Islam teachings. One Muhammad in the Message to the Black Man is referred to as a black Arab. They say he was of the black Arab nation, right in the Message to the Black Man. Another set of teachings says that Muhammad was a Caucasian, and that the wise men came together and told him how he could not convert his people, and he died as a result of a broken heart. That is two different Muhammads. One is Muhammad the Conqueror of Palestine, which is clear in the lessons when it says that the devil helped us take Palestine. The Prophet Muhammad of 1400 years ago, the black Arab, had nothing to do with Palestine ever. He never had any dealings with Caucasians in his whole life. There's no place ever recorded of Rasulullah Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam ever having anything to do with Caucasians. They mention him in the Quran under the term Rome, a surah named Rome. But that's it. They mention it in Surah Al-Taha as on the, I think it's 2102, on the day the trumpet is blown, we shall gather together the guilty blue-eyed. Now, of course, the Arabs, in their latest translation out of Saudi Arabia, which I have, the latest Quran has blue eyes. Before it was Blair, Blairy, Zurkhan means blue. Zurkhan, everybody knows means blue. But that's the fact. We don't care. The point is that, to set that record straight, Honorable Elijah Muhammad was not making a mistake in reference to Muhammad being white in one place and black in the next. No, contrary. It was two different Muhammads. Muhammad the Conqueror was the one that's talking about in the 1 to 14 in the class. That's not Rasulullah they're talking about, of taking devil's heads. Prophet Muhammad never killed an Amorite in his life, because he never came in contact with Amorites. However, Muhammad the Conqueror, called the great prophet Muhammad by the Europeans, he did kill Amorites. And he was broken-hearted insofar as Salahuddin, defender of the faith, went into the courts of King Richard, revived him, lived with him when he was wounded. Remember, he was almost struck down with a lance, brought him back to life and could not convert him, and wasn't able to convert the invading Christians who came to Jerusalem. The Muslims there could not convert those Christians because they did not realize they were dealing with the rose and the cross. A certain degree of Knights of Templar and Freemasonry who know more than Islam. And so he was brokenhearted for that. You got that part of the chapter? All right? So now, getting back to the situation at hand. So here in the wilderness of North America, we were now in these clubs getting banged upside